Verse 22 says, "For false Christs and false prophets will rise and show signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. In the last days there will be false signs and false wonders, false miracles being performed by just average false prophets and false Christs, as the verse mentions, as well as the Antichrist and the false prophet." Many verses, most of the verses about false signs and wonders and false miracles are related to the false prophet, which is one of the figures who, of course, I just always have my eye out for, the Antichrist and the false prophet, because we have identifying characteristics about what they will look like in the Bible. And so it's very interesting when someone prominent in Israel starts to rise up and is actually accredited with miracles. Yes, this Yanuka Rav Shlomo Yehuda is actually accredited with performing at least 5 or 6 miracles that I'll get into here in just a moment. I'll do just a quick overview on this guy for anybody who hasn't heard of him. I learned of him through the channel Wally-tron 101. Very grateful for him pointing this guy out because there's extremely strange coincidences surrounding this guy. A lot of characteristics that are similar to what the false prophet will have. So a quick overview on this guy is that he grew up as a Jewish person, obviously, but became extremely proficient in the Torah and the Talmud and all these different Jewish texts, which in itself is a supernatural sign and wonder, really, because it's said by the age of 15 that he was already proficient in the Talmud, which is like hundreds of books. So for like any human being to ever be proficient in that is shocking. They say that this guy's level of understanding in the Torah and the Talmud is only seen in like rarely in throughout generations. So that's what gives him the title, the Yanuka, somebody who is just proficient, profoundly proficient in the Torah and the Talmud and all the Jewish laws and texts and beliefs that they have. And through his understanding, he's gaining a lot of prominence in Israel. Many of the high-level Jewish rabbis and Jewish people are just in awe and going to him for their wisdom and knowledge. This just reminds me of his understanding of the Torah, and all this just reminds me of the reference of Jesus in the Bible and how there was multiple times when Jesus would be teaching and these people were saying, how does this guy know these things? He isn't even like a scholar. Just an interesting characteristic there. An interesting quote on this YouTube channel about him, the Yanuka Rav Shlomo Yehuda, I believe it's ran by just somebody else who's just in awe of this guy, has a quote from a Jewish person in the video talking about him, and this is just the mindset that they're viewing him as. It says, he is a unique and special soul that has descended into the world to illuminate the world. Extremely interesting wordage. There's another very shocking quote here from the person who made this video about him. Then I'll get into the miracles that he's actually performed. First, they reference a verse from the book of Job that says, "You will decree and it will be fulfilled." That's Job 22:28. And then the person who made the video, listen to the quote they say about him. "Many have experienced salvation through his blessing and in the power of his Torah and witnessed miracles transcending the forces of nature." Now that's like so much sounds like he's talking about God, but that's actually what he's referencing to this Yanuka. So now I'll get into these miracles that he's performed, but first I need to point out something that needs to be referenced, that all of these miracles, and I'll leave the videos in the description where you can see what these people's wordage of the miracles are, you know, word for word from their own mouth. Every single one of these people who talk about the miracle that happened to them, not a single one mentioned God. I believe in miracles and I believe God heals and does things, but every single person who I know who has been healed or touched by God always references Jesus or God, or this person prayed for me and God healed me and God touched me. Not a single person in these videos says that. All the glory is going to this Yanuka. So this first one is a video that says, "In one moment I was walking again," an incredible miracle with the Yanuka. This guy was sick. He was in a wheelchair. He was getting these transfusions. It was making him extremely sick. And the Yanuka, he went to him. The guy came down the stairs and came to him. And then now here he is, completely fine, not having to go to the doctor or anything else anymore. That's its own video. Again, I'll leave that in the description. All the other miracle references here are in another video that I'll also leave in the description. And the miracles that are attributed to the Yanuka is one guy met with the Yanuka, and the Yanuka said that he would meet his soulmate that day, and that very day he met the person who he married. There's another guy who had malignant tumors, and the tumors disappeared after having a conversation, and the Yanuka just said that they would be gone, and they were gone. Another guy was released from prison before the Sabbath. And his wordage for this was that it was not of this world, altering the laws of nature. It happened just as the Rav said. And there was one more guy in this video who referenced that he was about to go into surgery. He had to go. It was the day before surgery that he was going in. He met with the Yanuka, and then Yanuka said he'd be healed, and he was healed. So pretty shocking to hear. And again, I just have to point out that not a single reference to God was working through him, God healed me through him. Not a single ounce of the glory for these miracles was given to God. It was all given to the Yanuka.